We could soon learn if criminal charges will be filed after the deadly shooting involving Alec Baldwin on the set of the movie Rust. The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Department and District Attorney will hold a press conference later today to discuss the investigation. Last week, Baldwin fired a gun that witnesses say was declared safe by the assistant director that ultimately killed the film's director of photography, Helena Hutchins, and wounded director Joel Souza. MSNBC anchor Yasmin Vasugian joins us now from Santa Fe, New Mexico, with what we can expect. Yasmin, good morning. So it's been almost a week since the shooting, and today we're hoping to get some answers from this press conference. I think the biggest question is probably exactly how did a loaded gun end up in Alec Baldwin's hands, or even on the set for that matter? Investigators say witnesses have described the film's assistant director, Dave Halls, telling Baldwin the gun was safe for use. Do we have any new information this morning about the events leading up to the shooting?
Yeah, so we're trying to get that information, right? That's one of the reasons why we're here to cover this press conference today, happening 10 a.m. local time, noon Eastern time, hearing from the Sheriff's Department and also the District Attorney as well. And you mentioned the possibility of criminal charges. The District Attorney essentially saying, listen, nothing is off the table. This is going to be a very long and painstaking, Savannah, investigation. It could take weeks, if not months, because of the number of folks they actually have to interview, the number of possible witnesses that were a part of the Rust production crew. And that's going to have to kind of go through the rigmarole to make sure that they are going forward with the right path. You talk about and you ask about the events leading up to the shooting of the cinematographer, Helena Hutchins, and we have read the affidavit now that was just released a few days ago, talking about the events leading up to that moment. It seems as if 6 crew members had actually walked off the set earlier in the day because of late pay and safety standards. Because of that, they had gotten a late start to the production. They'd actually broken for lunch and then returned after lunch to rehearse the scene in which Helena Hutchins was subsequently shot in. They were inside of a church. Alec Baldwin, the actor, was sitting in a pew. He was practicing something called a cross draw, in which he pulls a gun and points it directly at the camera. Dave Halls, the assistant director who you mentioned, pulled a gun from a table in which 3 guns were sitting on. He yelled cold gun, which in film industry terms, I guess, means essentially this thing is not loaded. He handed the weapon then to Alec Baldwin, who subsequently rehearsed the scene. Helena Hutchins was behind the camera, Joel Souza behind her, looking into the camera. The gun was pulled, pointed directly at the camera. Joel Souza then recounts that's when he heard a whip and a pop. And he saw Helena Hutchins kind of stumble backwards and say subsequently she couldn't feel her legs. He then saw blood coming from his shoulder. Helena Hutchins was clutching her stomach, and the gun from Alec Baldwin was then subsequently handed off to the armorer after that. Those shell casings, that gun then handed off to the investigators. So, listen, we're trying to piece together all of these various things that led up to the tragic shooting of Helena Hutchins, and we're hopefully going to be learning more today in this press conference.
Absolutely. You mentioned that crew members are being interviewed and production also has been suspended indefinitely. Yeah. Now, the film's producers also say they've hired their own lawyers to look into the incident. Is that standard procedure for something like this? How's this investigation happening?
Yeah, it is pretty standard procedure. So you got OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, right? It's very standard procedure for them to look into any kind of workplace death. So that is the standard practice for a situation like this, and they're going to move forward with that. Subsequently, the Rust Film Production has hired their own outside law firm that will sit in on all the crew members' interviews with OSHA. And this is something that we have seen before. Obviously, this is not something that happens quite often, but nonetheless, it is Savannah standard procedure.
All right. Yasmin Vasugian in New Mexico for us. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.